Hans Wormhat. In this video, I want to talk about one idea that somebody brought up in the comments, and I've just never made this connection before. Time moving faster, the days being shorter, it might be directly linked to this huge obesity epidemic that we have. It's a real epidemic that we can just see, open our eyes, look around us, and maybe it's connected to the time thing, and I'll just explain it in a second. But first, this is a real pandemic or epidemic, obesity, but we don't see the TV telling us to go outside and shame fat people, tell them to put the fork down. We don't see the TV telling us, speak to your loved ones about obesity. It's a killer. No, we don't get commercials like that. Obesity is one of the leading risk factors for premature death. It was linked to 4.7 million deaths. The globe is a lie. All over Earth in 2017. This current thing that we got going on, what they say, I guess, is this many deaths, but the numbers are all fake, made up. But even if you believe the numbers, they're gonna sell you a story that just doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to make sense. What they're selling you is fear, propaganda. But look at the numbers. This is how many number deaths are with this thing we have going on right now, allegedly. And in 4.7 million deaths in 2017 caused by obesity. But again, we don't see TV ads telling you shame a fat person to put the fork down. Uh, why don't we see ads on TV about that? If they care about people dying, why isn't there a huge push to get obese people to lose weight? So intermittent fasting, this is the main idea that somebody brought up in the comments, which I actually think is a really interesting and probably true statement. I don't think we need 3 meals a day anymore. The days are so quick, and personally, I usually just eat one main meal a day is enough for me. I mostly just have a large dinner, and I might snack a little bit throughout the day, but I just eat one meal a day. And I used to eat lunch way back when. I never ate like a lot of food during my life, but I did used to eat lunch. I never was much of a breakfast eater, but I used to have a lunch and then I'd also have dinner. But nowadays, I'm totally satisfied on mostly just having one large dinner. And intermittent fasting has never been as popular. I just think people are realizing they don't need to eat 3 meals a day anymore. And the whole breakfast thing, anyways, is a big hoax. Oh, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. They want you breaking your fast and thinking that that's the most important thing to do. That's the whole push for breakfast is the most important meal of the day. They don't want people fasting. This was just a funny little... I like stuff like this where this is just somebody making a little blog, but if you think about the implications, I ate like the royal family for 3 days. So beginning the day with tea and biscuits before breakfast, and then having breakfast. And this is lunchtime, and this person was already saying, how does the queen have time to eat this often? I was just trying to find, I think of, back in the day, I just think of people having more opportunities to eat. Breakfast, brunch, lunch. Nobody could have all three, but I think back in the day, if people were being festive, they might have a small breakfast, they might have a little something at brunch time, they might have a lunch, and then there's afternoon tea. And there actually have been some fad diets in the past where people are like, oh, eat 8 small meals throughout the day. I just don't even think that's possible right now. You would just be constantly eating. And so here, I just thought this was interesting. How does the queen have time to eat this often? Already eating 2 times before noon. It's just not reasonable these days. Seriously, how does the queen have time for so many meals? Afternoon tea. And then they weren't even hungry. So when this person did this experiment trying to eat like the queen, they weren't even hungry for dinner. And they blame it on having too much to eat at afternoon tea. But I mean, more than 2 hours have passed. And just 2 hours is so short. It's seriously like 30 minutes used to be. Or at least that's what it feels like. So it's just like nothing has passed, even though 2 hours have passed. Normally that would, way back when, 2 hours was maybe a reasonable amount of time to have a little bit of an appetite again. But not today. They only made it through a third of their dinner. And then there was still dessert. So I just thought that was interesting. OMAD is something that you hear about today. 1 meal a day. It's just a form of diet that a lot of people are taking up, only eating 1 meal a day. And I think it just fixes this problem. I think a lot of people are obese and overweight, whatever, and maybe they don't think that they're eating unreasonably. They're like, well, I'm eating a small breakfast, I'm eating a reasonable lunch, I'm eating a reasonable dinner. Maybe we just don't even need that anymore. And maybe having 3 meals like that, that's just too much. There's not enough time for our body to process all that. We're not burning as many calories per day because just the days aren't as long. So here was the comment. I thought it was a great comment. Anyone remember when it was encouraged by many to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Those days are literally almost not talked about at all. I used to be able to eat like that. Now I feel like I've gained a lot just by eating at lunch and dinner time. So it sounds like this person cut out breakfast, but they're still gaining weight just eating lunch and dinner. And I'm not going to get in because there's so many aspects of people being heavier today. Yeah, people are more sedentary. Processed foods are terrible. People drink sodas left and right nowadays. Yeah, I agree. But there's just more to it than that. So many people, it's like almost everybody is overweight. And it didn't used to be like that. Not everybody drinks sodas. There's a lot of people that they try to be health conscious, but they're still overweight. And it's probably just because eating 3 meals a day is overeating. That's just too much, eating too much nowadays. People shouldn't be having 3 meals a day today. I don't believe that. And yeah, I don't want to get too much into the nutrition. People know nothing about nutrition. Doctors know nothing about nutrition, even though what you put in your body clearly is really, really important to your health. But doctors know nothing about nutrition. They don't make doctors learn about nutrition. They just make them learn about pharmaceuticals and vaccines, pushing vaccines. That's what doctors know. Okay, continuing. It's almost as if our bodies are starting to no longer be able to adjust to such an eating routine as the time is moving too fast for it. So here's just some extra stuff. I hear comments like this pretty frequently. And anyways, my dad's watch cannot keep with the time consistently by the week, as his watch time would be 2 hours off in a matter of a week. When my dad was a baby, he told me that his parents said he was a slow-talking baby, but now him and I are talking so fast that we sometimes can't even keep up with what we were saying. Just some interesting things to think about. Thank you for the comment. I really liked this, bringing up the idea of we don't need 3 meals a day anymore. I agree with that. I'm not going to talk a lot about this, but there is a conspiracy to hide fasting from translations of the Bible that are not King James Version. Especially NIV completely omits verses talking about how important fasting is, and they'll just remove talking about fasting. King James Version says, and he said unto them, this kind can come forth by nothing but by prayer and fasting. And NIV just removes and fasting. Here's just more examples. So I got this from an article talking about the way people ate in the 1950s. I just thought this was really interesting, so I'm going to read it. After World War II, food was changing. During the war, food shortages and rationing brought in newly created processed foods. Some cookbooks with new food ingredients such as margarine, oleo, shortening, boxed cereals, and cake mixes. Foods that could save you time in the kitchen. I guess I'll just point out here, there is not enough time in the day to cook like people used to. People used to make their own homemade bread, and they would make homemade breakfast, and homemade lunch, and homemade dinner, and homemade desserts. There literally is not enough time. You would be in your kitchen all day to do that today. And I guess I'll just say a really big thing these days that people like to do is meal prepping, because it's such a time saver. People do not have the time to make fresh meals every day. It's too much. That's a full-time job to just worry about food. And that's why a part of the reason why fast food is so popular, pre-made things that you can just throw in the microwave are so popular. Not enough time in the day. Television, I just love this part right here. Television was new to America, and as households were starting to get their first televisions, advertising had a brand new way of getting you to buy what they wanted to sell. There were government films showing you how to eat and what to eat. Straight up propaganda. The propaganda from those days has such a feel to it. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Just those old 1950s government videos telling you how to live your life. Just very strange feel to them. When you look back now, things become more clear than they were back then, and we can see how we were steered to purchase what they wanted us to and convinced us that this was the better way. As time has gone by, we find our trips to the grocery store have changed quite a bit with processed concoctions, and less space is required for real food or non-processed food. It's almost all processed. And I guess it's worth throwing out there the whole veganism thing. Almost every vegan, it is very difficult to be like a healthy vegan because most of what vegans eat is heavily processed foods. And it's just really strange, like, oh, I'm being healthy, I'm eating this vegan chicken nugget. But it's like, do you know how much processing goes into a vegan chicken nugget versus if you actually just go buy chicken and bread it yourself? Making homemade chicken nuggets is way healthier than some vegan. Who knows how much processing goes into that? It's like not food at a certain point. It really becomes like not food. Some people did eat boxed cereal and milk at breakfast, but not normally. My father enjoyed shredded wheat and milk. A normal breakfast would be bacon and eggs and toast, maybe grits with the eggs, toast or biscuits, bacon and eggs and hash browns or skillet potatoes, pancakes and waffles. People don't have the time. This is like a special treat nowadays to make bacon and eggs and waffles for breakfast. That's honestly, I only eat breakfast for dinner because it just all the prep that it takes, and I'm just not hungry at breakfast time too. This was just them talking about lunch. People did eat a lot less. So not all of the obesity today is caused by this time thing. I just think that's a really interesting thing to think about and something that people, awake people especially, people who notice these things, people who can tell that the sun is brighter, who can tell that the moon is brighter, maybe they can tell too that 3 meals a day is just too much now. It's too much to have 3 meals a day. And yeah, it's not the only thing causing people to be overweight today, but it could be contributing. 1950s stuff is just pretty interesting to me. People don't have the time to make homemade meals like this anymore. Not like they used to. One of my aunts always made 6 loaves of bread on Saturdays. That would be just a whole effort to do that. That would take up your whole day to do that today. People used to have more leisurely time to go hunting and fishing for all their food. Today, people are just in their slave jobs and have to microwave their meals. So you can just read this if you want. So I just thought this was interesting, this person's perspective. I really have no clue. This is just, they were speculating about why people are more overweight today. Chemicals in the food, larger portion sizes, sure. But then I liked what they had to say here. The reason I feel this is in the 1950s, we ate good meals and we frequently ate desserts. It was common to eat a dessert at night with milk, and people did not seem to get heavy from eating these foods. Pound cake is a favorite Southern cake and is full of butter, sugar, and flour, but we did not get fat eating pound cake. People often look to back in time and think that people were totally wretched and didn't have any food, and that's not the case. Things were different, but things were also the same. And people did eat desserts back then, homemade desserts, cakes. In the 1950s, making homemade desserts like every day, all the time, all the different jellos that were coming out, and so there's more to it. And yeah, the sodas today, the more fast food today. Yeah. I agree. However, I also don't think that we need to eat 3 meals anymore. People were more active in the 1950s. People know something is wrong. And I'll just end on this note. You cannot be a 50s housewife anymore. You physically couldn't do it. There's not enough time in the day to do everything that people used to do. Let's just go through this and laugh about, try to imagine getting all of this done today. Throw back the covers, open up the blinds and windows. 15 minutes has already passed today doing those two things. Freshen up, make and serve breakfast, clean up breakfast, do a 10-minute exercise regime, shower, do hair, makeup, get dressed, gather a basket for tidying, pick up items that aren't where they belong, place them in a basket, redistribute them where they should be. Okay, nowadays you're already at lunchtime. Straighten up the living room and dining room, light dusting, fluffing, straightening pillows, watering the plants or flowers, make the beds, tidy up the bedroom, hang up any clothes, tidy up the bathroom. Wait, we still haven't hit lunch yet. Tidy up the bathroom, replace the towels, refill toilet paper, soap, clean the sink and basin area. Where's lunchtime? Review the menu for the current day and compare it to what's available in the home. Make note of anything that needs prepared ahead of time. Begin making dessert for dinner, long advanced preparation things for dinner. Wipe down the kitchen. Work surfaces and inside the fridge. People don't have time to wipe down the inside of their fridge every day. Are you joking? That's like a once a month thing if you're good these days. Dispose of the garbage. Again, we have not hit lunchtime. How have we not hit lunchtime yet? This person has done so many chores already, and today it's not possible to do this many things. Rinse dishcloths and hang to dry. Sweep or mop the kitchen floor. People used to mop their house every single day. You cannot mop your house every day. You would have no time. And you notice how many products these days are all about saving you time. It's like the whole Swiffer thing. Ain't nobody got time to mop, so you got to get your Swiffer. But if you have children, ain't nobody got time to pick up all the toys off the floor. And so there are certain things that modern day life gets in the way. Nowadays, children have 5,000 plastic things from China that you got to pick up. Life was simpler back then, but the time difference today is so noticeable that it's absurd. Even in the best scenario, you cannot do all of these things in one day. Handle errands that might take you out of the home, such as marketing, volunteering. Time to go volunteering, going to the post office. Have you guys noticed that now it's like, if you have errands to run, that's like your whole day. If you're like, oh, today I got to go shopping and I got to go to the post office, that's like your whole day nowadays. And you're like beat when you get home. Oh, why do I feel like I ran a marathon? All I did was go to grocery shopping and go to the post office, and it eats up like 2 hours of your day. I don't think that it used to take people all this time to go run simple errands. They just say it so nonchalant. Oh, go run your outdoor errands. So we still haven't got to lunch. This person has cleaned half of their house. They've mopped. They're going out and running errands. Indulge in a hobby. Who has time to indulge in a hobby? It's ridiculous. Returning from the grocery store, wash your vegetables, wrap them and put them away. Okay, now we're at lunch. Have a quick lunch. Oh my gosh. I would already be passed out if I did all these things during one day today. Start advanced food conditioning, crisping vegetables or thawing frozen foods. Handle a weekly chore for the day. Set the table for dinner. Arrange the living room for evening enjoyment. Do a quick sweep of the floors. Prepare a special dish for dinner. Freshen up. Change into something more festive. Set out a tray for making cocktails. Greet your husband gaily. Serve dinner. Clear the table and wash the dishes. Pour boiling water down the sink. Pack the lunch for the next day. Set the table for breakfast. Ensure breakfast foods are available. Do any make-ahead preparations for it. And this 38 is such a joke. Enjoy an evening of relaxation. There is no way that anybody could relax after doing all this in one day. They would just pass out. They would be passed out. And I think that part of it this could really be its own video, really. A full night's rest does not give you rest anymore. I honestly, today, I feel like I could sleep for a whole week, and like that, okay, that would make me feel rejuvenated. How many of you feel like you could sleep for a whole week? And like that's how sleep deprived you are. And sure, I'm not getting like a full 8 hours, but I'm a young man. I should be fine on, less than optimal sleep, but I'm just dragging every day, taking naps, and I just still feel like I can't get rested. And it's because time is so short, sleep doesn't fully rest us anymore. We're all running on empty. Have you noticed that? Everybody these days is running on empty, so sluggish. And I'm sure there's lots of things to blame, but a big thing to blame is time. We don't get the same amount of rest anymore. Here was, I think, a list of, so all of those things that 1950s housewife did, that's not enough. You're still doing little chores throughout the day that need to get done. Use metal polish on the bathroom fixtures, clean and disinfect all kitchen appliances, scald and disinfect bread boxes and garbage pails and bins, replace flowers with fresh bouquets. Ain't nobody got time for this anymore. You feel good these days if you check off like one or two big ticket things like clean out the fridge, or this, you can do one of these a week maybe and feel good about yourself. But back in the day, people, I guess, had enough time to keep everything clean and keep their house, really fresh. And part of it too is though that things just don't necessarily get as dirty anymore. I guess I'll just point that out here. People have said in the comments like you don't even need to mop your floors as often as you used to because they just don't get dirty as fast. I don't know. I've never been a big house cleaner anyways, so I can't say much about that, but all right, I think that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please leave a comment. Let me know ways that you think time is moving faster. Let me know how you would react to trying to be like a 1950s housewife. I just don't think it's physically possible anymore. God bless everyone.